All right, I was just mentioning, thank you for those of you who are logging on and joining us now. I am just recording this for those families who are not able to join us. Again, totally understand. I know the craziness of this hour at home with children. In fact, my husband was just sharing how the craziness at our household. So I appreciate you being here tonight, but I also understand those of us that weren't able to join. So I am recording. Let me just share my screen again here. There we go. And we will go ahead and get started. I will, if you have a question, there is that chat feature in the upper right-hand corner. It kind of looks like a speech bubble. If you have a question as we're going, feel free to drop the question in that chat. If it's something I can answer pretty quickly or I have the answer, I'll try to answer this evening. If it happens to be something that might take a little bit longer or I don't have the answer to, I might get back to you in an email or a phone call later. But do feel free to drop the questions in that chat. And we'll also have time at the end to just kind of cover any questions or anything that you might have. At least that's my hope, that we'll have some time to chat. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get started. The first few slides I did share a little bit at Meet the Teacher, but I know at that presentation I was mostly speaking with your children, and I know that some of you might have been there, others were not. So just really briefly, a little bit about myself. This is my 15th year of teaching. I was a second and third grade teacher at Glacier Ridge for 8 years. I actually had the privilege of opening Glacier Ridge as well. So how lucky am I that I get to open 2 beautiful buildings so early in my career. So I feel very lucky to have this opportunity again here at DEP. I then went on to become a numeracy instructional coach. And while I was an instructional coach, I actually spent time at 9 of our then 12 elementaries in some capacity, working with teachers and their math instruction. And then most recently, I was a media specialist for the past 2 years at Bailey Elementary. So I'm super excited to get back in the classroom. I always knew that was going to be part of my journey. And how lucky am I that I get to be here at DEP opening this building with all of your amazing children. So that's a little bit about me professionally. Personally, I have 2 boys, Gus and Milo. Milo's going to be 2 here on November 4th. Actually, fun fact, stole my birthday. So I just say I never get any older. I'll remain the same age I was the year Milo was born. And then we have our cat, Ernie, and we live in a 100-year-old home down in Clintonville. So my commute to work is quite a hefty one. I don't mind it in the morning. I do get a little anxious in the evening when I just want to be home with my boys. And I'm originally from Poland, Ohio, which is up near Youngstown. But I've been in Columbus ever since I went to Ohio State. So over 20 years now. So glad to be here. Again, at Meet the Teacher, I talked about kind of my motto for this year. My 2 main words are flexibility and grace. Life right now in general is just unpredictable and we don't know what to prepare for. So we kind of prepare for everything. Despite that, our goal will always remain the same. Your and my goal together will always be your child's well-being, not just academically, but emotionally and socially. All of those things remain my goal, our goal, regardless of where we're doing it and how we're doing it. So just being flexible in what it might look like, but not flexible in terms of what our goals are for your child. And then the other, of course, is grace. We're all in this together. I know as a parent, there's a lot of unknowns and pressure and all of that put onto us in terms of our own child's education. So I know you're all doing your best and you certainly have my grace, and please know that I'm also certainly trying my best for your child. I know I'm not going to be perfect, but I am trying my best, and I'm just going to always assume positive intent. That we, again, your child is both of our focus, and we're going to do whatever we can to ensure their success. So for communication moving forward, and already also in the past, I'm going to continue with doing the Friday weekly updates on via email.
Excuse me.
Conversation now where we're hoping that our elementary school might come with a common understanding in terms of an app or something we might use to have more immediate feedback for you throughout the week. Right now, Mr. Ersham has actually kind of asked us to put that on pause because he wants one platform. So those of you who have multiple children aren't having to check multiple platforms for how they're doing or what they're up to during the day. So I'll continue with the weekly updates for now, but I'm hoping that we might decide on an app that will be a little bit more current. In the meantime, I did start a Twitter handle for our classroom. I realize not everybody's on Twitter, and that's okay because I'm posting many of the same pictures in our weekly update anyway, but I do sort of post those as I take them throughout the week. So if you want to see them more readily, our handle is at Ferris143, which is just our room number. Students have an aqua take-home folder, a green or an aqua take-home folder as well. So any school announcements, things of that sort, the aqua take-home folder should be coming to and from school each day. And that's also, if you want to drop me a note or something of that sort, you can also put any communications you have for the school in there as well. And of course, emails and phone calls are a great way to communicate. I'm happy to do either, both, you just let me know. Dismissal plans. I think I know all of the kiddos, kind of how they're arriving to school and especially how they are going home from school. But if for some reason that changes, again, you can put a note in their take-home folder. But if it happens after school hours, you're going to want to call the office to make sure both your child and I know that information. So that's kind of it.
Are you sharing your screen with specific information other than the poem? Because we can just see the poem.
Yeah, I'm hoping that everyone, it's not moving for you guys. It's only moving for me. Thank you for saying something. Hold on. There we go.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know why it's not moving on both screens. I'm so glad someone said something. Okay. So let's move through. So Destiny is our library platform. It is our online system to let us know the books that are available in Depp Elementary's library. I understand that Destiny has been having a lot of issues. Some people are able to log on, some people are not. I think they're starting to iron that out. I'm hoping at the end of this presentation, if we have time, I'm going to come back and kind of walk us through how to put a book on hold. So your child, not only how to put a book on hold, but also some of the cool features on Destiny that would allow you and your child to search for books that we have or that they might be interested in checking out. And then what Mrs. DePalma does is bring them down to our classroom so that your kiddo can bring them home or even just read them here in the classroom. But you're able to put holds on this Destiny database if and when it's working. So I'm hoping that the kinks have been ironed out and we'll be able to use that more readily. I know some students have already been taking some books home. So like I said, we'll come back to that. The link is in our Google Classroom, and you just have to remember to make sure your child logs in using their Google credentials, which if they're already logged into Chrome, they just have to hit sign in with Google. And then they're able to place some books on hold. Like I said, if we have some time, we'll revisit that. All right. Let's see. I don't know why my slideshow's not going. There we go. Another great way to get books in the home, especially for that hybrid piece of the learning where students are at home learning, are through our Scholastic book orders. There's certainly no pressure at all if you have plenty of books in your home already. Don't feel the need to purchase them, but I will be sending links in our weekly updates every week. And the book orders go in on the last Friday of the month. I'll submit them on the first Friday of the month. Every book that you purchase for your home also gives us points and allows us to buy books for our classroom. So that's kind of a mutually beneficial situation for your child that they'll have books here and at home. But again, absolutely no pressure. If you have any questions about that, let me know. Also, there is a wish list on there for our classroom that I kind of take the lead from the kids, what books they're interested in, and then I add it to our wish list. So if you're wanting to purchase a book for our classroom, you can check that out. That's pretty student-centered. All right. So hopefully we are settling into a routine with our asynchronous learning, and that would just be the fancy word for learning at home. I'm sure you are all like me, like asynchronous, synchronous. I'm pretty tired of hearing those words, but asynchronous is just fancy for at-home learning. The related arts teachers, hopefully all of your kiddos have joined that Google Classroom and are kind of finding their way through those assignments with their related arts teachers. Unfortunately, that is pretty separate from what we're doing here at DEP, because the related arts teachers that our second graders have this year are actually not housed at DEP. So we don't really have much communication with them. So any issues or questions you have specifically in regards to related arts, you'll want to reach out to those teachers. I can help put you in contact with them, but I won't have the answers to specific questions in regards to their related arts assignments. Another thing that I'm sure you've noticed for the asynchronous learning on our Google Classroom is ST Math. That is a district purchased resource, and the suggested amount of time that they spend on that per week is 90 minutes per week. How they choose to split that up, or how the family chooses to split that up, is really whatever works for you. The goal is 90 minutes. Clearly, we recognize the kids have busy lives and life happens. If you don't get 90 minutes every week, it's not, a have to, it's just the goal. ST Math is a really cool resource because it really takes the language piece out of math and really focuses on the concept. I know it's a little bit different than how we typically see math, but the goal is for kiddos to kind of problem solve, see what works, see what doesn't. There's very little language involved, so it's accessible to all students is what the goal is. We'll continue to have daily independent reading each day for part of our asynchronous learning. In our science and social studies, we are definitely trying to incorporate science and social studies into our reading and writing workshops here at school. So some of our readings will kind of touch on some of those. But just because we only have 3 hours during the school day, there might be assignments that will be for science and social studies that we will ask for kiddos to do at home if we don't happen to be able to get to them in the classroom. And then Mrs. Diller will also be sending home her guidance lessons, and we'll post her guidance lessons on our Google Classrooms as well. Sometimes we're going to try to put some word study in there. We'll change things up every now and then, but those are the things that you can kind of count on consistently to see for the asynchronous learning at home. This is so foreign to me to just hear myself talking the whole time. And you would think after 15 years I wouldn't get nervous, but I'm very nervous right now. And especially since my slides weren't working. Here we go. Okay, so we'll move on to kind of what to expect in terms of the second grade curriculum. And we will start with just differentiation, which happens across our curriculum in all subject matters. I learn about your child primarily through assessment, both formal assessments and informal. And sometimes those informal are just conversations I have with them, observations I make. But assessing them is really how I get to know them well in terms of what their needs are instructionally. So if a child needs an extension, most of the times that's pretty authentic. I'll think of a question that will push them beyond. Let's say if it's in math, it'll be a question that takes whatever we've done in math and just pushes them a little bit further, a little bit beyond, or asks them to think about something more strategically and using their reasoning abilities. In reading, it's really about text complexity and the level of questions that might be asked around those texts to help extend their thinking. And then if a child happens to need intervention, which means they're struggling to learn whatever the concept is, that's kind of authentic and in the minute as well, aside from what I learned from them via assessments. And we determine what support is needed to help them reach whatever benchmark or reach whatever goal it is that is just right for them. So it's constantly moving, and it's very child dependent and what their needs are almost in that moment. But we also will set some long-term goals together to achieve in all subject matters. But differentiation is happening always in the classroom. Let's see. Okay. There we go. So I'm sure you've probably figured this out at this point, but Dublin does what's called a workshop model in all of our curriculum areas. And a workshop is just as it would be in our lives. It's a place that we go to create, work on our craft, grow, change, take risks, all of that stuff. And it's very learner-centered. So there should be very little of me talking and more of their learning and questioning and thinking. And I'm able to meet with them more on a one-on-one basis versus how we were traditionally taught, where the teacher stood in front and talked. It's more of me working alongside of them. So our workshop models are the same in all subject matters. We generally have a mini lesson. Most of the time is spent working, and then we'll come back together for a reflection. And math workshop has an added component of what's called a math opener. And that's just basically a math warm-up. And those can look in a variety of different ways, but it just warms their brains up to get them ready to start thinking about math. For second grade, we are going to be two of our main resources. We already discussed ST Math. That's that little penguin down there in the left-hand corner. And his name's Gigi, and he kind of guides your student through their ST Math journey. And then our other primary resource is Bridges. Of course, we supplement with things depending on student need. If they need more of something or less of something, they are our first guides, the students and what their needs are. But this next slide I like this next slide because it's a really good visual of kind of the big ideas in second grade for math this year. Place value is huge, measurement, and our basic facts and things of that sort. So this is a really nice visual. Like I said, I'm recording this, and I will also be sharing this slideshow, so you'll be able to look at this more closely once I send it in an email. But this gives you kind of how they're connected, and even the size of the dots tell you how much of a focus it is during our year in second grade. I don't know why I won't. There we go. So oftentimes we're asked as teachers, how can I support my child at home? What can I be doing at home to kind of support their learning here at school? Two of the main things that you can be doing at home are that ST Math, which kind of takes them through the second grade curriculum at their own pace, and whatever skills that they're needing to improve on or be extended in. But math fluency is a huge thing that you can be working at home. And I think it's a misconception that fluent means fast. Of course, speed is a component of it, and that efficiency piece, we do want them to be efficient, but it's also a matter of being accurate and being able to have a strategy. Lots of research suggests that if students know their doubles, which is 8 plus 8, 6 plus 6, 7 plus 7. If they know their doubles and then their 10 facts, which would be like 2 plus 8, 6 plus 4, they can almost determine any other basic facts. For example, if they need to figure out 8 plus 7, they might use 7 plus 7 to help them solve that, or 8 plus 8. So if they know their doubles, they can use that to do what we call the doubles plus 1 or the doubles minus 1. So if you're going to focus on anything in terms of their fluency, make sure you really hone in on those doubles facts and those 10 facts, because it will come back to help them not just on their basic facts, but as we get into larger numbers as well. And I know this is a huge conversation because it's very different than how we learned. And I think a lot of the conversation comes back to that efficiency piece, that a lot of the ways that we think about math right now in second grade might not be the most efficient. And I absolutely recognize that. It isn't always about efficiency. Oftentimes we're more focused on flexibility. So when they're solving problems like 49 plus 26, we're wanting them to think about decomposing of numbers like 40 and 9 and 20 and 6, and then putting the 40 and 20 together and the 6 and 9 together, just so that if there's ever a time where they don't have paper and pencil to do that traditional algorithm, they're able to think more flexibly about numbers. So of course, the algorithm is the most efficient in many scenarios, but sometimes it's not. And so we want students to be able to adjust on the situation they're in. And so we kind of start slow and teach them about flexibility with numbers before we jump into that algorithm. And it's very, very intentional, so that they understand the whys behind the algorithm and that they're not strictly relying on the algorithm all of the time, that they're able to be more flexible. So it's that number sense piece and all of that. So I think that's what we've got for math. Yep. Okay. So reading workshop, again, there's that workshop model where we start with a mini lesson, which is direct instruction from the teacher. As you can see, most of the time is spent in independent practice or guided practice. That's where I would be meeting with specific students or groups of students. Right now, it's more specific students because we're trying to not do groups. And then, of course, coming back together for that share and reflection piece. I think I have a big idea. Big ideas for second grade in reading is identifying key ideas and details. We're really thinking about fluency, which is reading smoothly and with expression. Recognizing the craft and structure of other authors. So we'll hone in on other authors' strategies and ways of writing so that we can duplicate that in our own writing, but also think about how it helps us to comprehend and understand the text. Of course, in continuation from first grade is that phonics and word recognition. And then that transfers then to more difficult, challenging words with our vocabulary recognition and use. We're hoping to grow that vocabulary while using strategies that they learned from first grade and new strategies that they'll learn this year. And then this is a big one, making sure that they're reading in many different genres, that they're not just reading the same type of book over and over again, or that they're not simply just reading books, that we're also putting articles in front of them, some digital resources in front of them, and that they're able to read in all of those settings because we read differently in those settings. So those are some of the big ideas for reading this year. And again, how can you help at home with reading? I can't stress enough that in the primary ages, it's about a love of learning. And so that would be the focus. Help them to love reading, help them to find the joy in reading. If we start focusing too much on the nuts and bolts of reading, we sometimes can take the fun out of it. So we want to just make sure that we're focusing on the love of reading, to read a book sometimes just for the fun of it. So helping them find books they enjoy. Series are huge for this age readers because it takes the guesswork out of what book comes next. And they know that the kind of what to expect from that author in terms of craft and the characters in terms of what the format is of that book. So series are great. If you're looking for a great series to get your kiddo interested in, please let me know. It's one of my favorite things to do and one of the things I miss most about being a media specialist. So please let me know. And then just talking about the book. What was your favorite part? Why do you think that character did that? What did they learn? Just having a conversation about a book. If you're in a book club, think about it as kind of a mini book club with your child. If you have the opportunity, I know this is a challenge. It is for me sometimes in my home, but trying to read with them nightly is huge. And having that be part of your routine will be really helpful. If you find a routine that works for you and your family, stick with it, even if they push back. And again, trying to keep it stress-free, focus on the fun, and give them a chance to self-correct. So if they're reading along and you notice that they read an incorrect word, give them a few words to see if they're going to go back and self-correct that, because that's evidence of comprehension. And sometimes it takes them to read the whole sentence before they recognize like, that didn't make sense. And that they're going to go back and try to use some of those strategies to figure out that word. And oftentimes even then, instead of just telling them the word, asking them, what word do you think would make sense there? What word looks like that would make sense there? And then writing workshop, then same model. And we have 3 big writing units that we do throughout the year. That would be our narrative piece, which the students are working on now, an opinion piece, which on this slide they're calling an argumentative writing, and an informational piece where they write nonfiction, true information. So far in our narrative unit, students have been talking about how to generate ideas, then how to pre-write or kind of grow those ideas a little bit before they ever start even writing a story. And then we talk about a beginning, middle, and end, and how crucial having a strong lead in their beginning is, painting a picture with their words to describe their setting. And then the middle is what we call the heart of the story, where the action takes place. And then an end, wrapping it up nicely. We'll be getting into revising and editing and the importance of revising and editing. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to write with second graders, but revising and editing is not their favorite. When they're done, they think they're done. They don't understand this whole concept of going back. No, Mrs. Ferris, I'm done. I finished it. Yes, and now we're going to go back and see if we can make it even better. So if they're fighting you on that at home, don't worry. They fight me on it at school as well. We just started a little bit of it today, and they're like, wait a second, I don't understand why I'm looking at this again. So just know that we are working on that here at school as well. Let's see. Supporting your writers at home. Again, focusing on the fun, trying to make writing fun and authentic at home. You don't need to have them be writing long pieces like I am at school. Let me do that work and save you that work. Try to do fun writing with them. Have them create lists. Have them generate ideas for when they do come to school. Then they have a bank of ideas that they can write from. Maybe write a letter to a friend in an old neighborhood or a relative that lives far away. Things that don't feel like work to them, that will feel more fun and authentic, the joy of writing. Again, much like reading, trying not to overcorrect. Maybe pick 1 or 2 words from a piece of their writing that you want them to go back to and correct, or choose punctuation or choose capitalization. Pick one thing to focus on rather than all the things, because then they get overwhelmed and frustrated. If you write, or even if you're creating a grocery list, show them and share with them how writing is a part of your life. And focus on the quality instead of quantity when it comes to their writing. Word study, we're going to continue to look at high frequency words, and we're really going to be kind of beginning that shifting from phonics to that correct spelling instead of the inventive spelling, really looking at a word and thinking like, does this look right? If it doesn't look right, what strategies can we put into place? So if we're thinking about they're trying to write the word stream and they spell it S-T-R-E-E-M, does this word look right? Most of the time by the mid of 2nd grade, they'll say, nah, that doesn't look right. And so then I'll pose the question, what else might go in there? What other patterns do we know that make that long E sound? So that hopefully that they'll be able to self-correct some of that spelling. Mystery Science is a huge resource that we just got this year, that Dublin purchased for us this year. It is awesome and very inquiry-based, which is really kind of what we're looking for from our scientists in 2nd grade, is their critical thinking and their problem-solving ability. And Mystery Science is a great resource for that. We'll have them be doing that both at school and at home. You've probably already seen 1 or 2 of those experiments and Mystery Science learning experiences at home. And then social studies. Oh, 2nd grade science. Our big units in 2nd grade science are weather and atmosphere and water cycle. Those all kind of go together. Then we'll have a force and motion unit, and then the evolution of animals, kind of how dinosaurs have evolved into being reptiles and kind of how their adaptations have changed over time. Really, the big overarching theme of everything we do in science this year is the observations of our environment. How weather and evolution of animals and force and motion kind of are affected by and affect our environment. And then social studies, community is huge, comparing the today to the past, looking at maps, thinking about culture and diversity. All of that are huge ideas in social studies this year in 2nd grade. Many are a continuation of ideas that they were thinking about in 1st grade. We just increased the sophistication of the conversation and thinking around it. So big social studies ideas are our roles as citizens, interacting with our world, and many cultures, one world. This is a video from the related arts teachers. I'll send it separately as a link, but it will also be linked in the slideshow when I send it to you. It's just the related arts teachers introducing themselves to you, the parents, and letting you know what their expectations are and all of that good stuff. So I think it's about 4 or 5 minutes long. So when you have 4 to 5 minutes, I guess I should say, you might want to check that out just so that you can kind of put a face with the names that you're seeing in their Google Classroom. All right. I would like to open it up to any questions you might have, any questions that you might have about how things are going this year, or anything you have about what we discussed tonight, or I guess what I said tonight. It was a lot of me talking.